Hope you're doing good. Back with another video. Back here to talk about the ultimate comparison. It's usually a Samsung versus an iPhone, or vice versa. In this case, we have the iPhone 15 Pro versus Samsung's Galaxy S24 Plus. Major differences, major similarities. So what we like to do is typically start on the outside and work our way in. And the first thing we're going to do is look at the design of these phones. And at first glance, you're definitely seeing some inspiration from the prototypical iPhone hardware design, mimicked very well, by the way, by Samsung. And at this point in the phone game, as we know, with Apple being in a ton of trouble, taking tech from other companies like Massimo for their watches, tech companies, they take from one another. They will take from one another, and really, that does help with competition because if there was a monopoly or you can't make a phone look like this type of stuff, where would we be at in today's time, right? So as we see, the only difference here being, of course, I have the smaller one at 6.1 inches for the iPhone 15 Pro, and I have the Plus model of the S24, so you're looking at 6.7 inches, much larger. Buttons all on one side of the Galaxy S24 Plus and the series as a whole, and that's something I very much so appreciate. I like having everything on one side. Makes way more sense than Apple's design, in my opinion, having the power button on one side and the volume rockers on the other, along with the action button. And we know there's no action button on the S24 Plus. I don't think it's necessarily needed, but I do like it because it helps me be able to change the sound input from my phone really quick, meaning silent mode versus alerts. If we go to the back here, we see the cameras. 3 cameras here, 3 cameras here. Little different, right? We have, in terms of the iPhone, a 48 megapixel standard wide, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 12 megapixel telephoto that's capable of taking 3 times optical zoom. Pretty solid, pretty handy. I like the images that come out of the iPhone. I've never really had any problems with these photos, and with the ability to capture raw images, you can edit them even better to your liking. Whereas on the Samsung, it gets a little interesting. This has a 50 megapixel standard, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and also has a 12 megapixel telephoto capable of 3 times zoom or telephoto capabilities. They both have 12 megapixel front facing cameras as well. And I can arguably say the same thing about Samsung's cameras. Very, very good. They've honestly gotten better over time, specifically in the video department, where Samsung has really, really caught up to Apple when it comes to overall video production out of their smart devices. That takes care of the cameras. So they're arguably similar. You're going to find this to be much more of a subjective conversation when it comes to the cameras because it just comes down to taste. They both provide really solid quality images. They both have their inconsistencies from time to time, but they do not outweigh the consistent quality production that they provide to your everyday needs. Now, this is the outside of the phone. Now, looking at the front, we get the dynamic island or peel on the iPhone 15 Pro, whereas we get that cutout hole. I forgot what we used to really call it, but you basically get way more screen on the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus. Looking at the lock screen, this is where the fun begins because they both now offer dimmed wallpaper lock screens. Apple started it when they finally brought always on display to their iPhones. Samsung had to hurry up and catch up with the dimmed wallpaper for the lock screen. The interesting thing about what I've noticed with the Samsungs is, let's say I'm using a live wallpaper like I am right now, you kind of have the time when that wallpaper is active if it starts off as a black wallpaper, because that's the only way you're going to actually get the dimmed effect. So let me demonstrate. So let's go ahead and click in. It's going to finish its ordeal. It looks clean, right? Look at that, just beautiful. Now, okay, so it went back to sleep. So let's say I go ahead and open the phone. I close it back. See, now it's back to all black because this is how the live wallpaper actually starts off. And then upon coming in, then it finally reveals itself. So Nice job by the creator of this wallpaper to also, make it long so that way it actually lasts a while. So good job there for the creator of this wallpaper for Samsung devices. Apple, we don't quite have that same. If we go ahead and breach the phone now, we don't have that quite that same live wallpaper support on iPhones quite yet. Maybe we will in iOS 18, but what I like is Samsung definitely supports live wallpapers on the outset. Not really on for the standard wallpapers either, might I add. You would have to probably use a third-party launcher for Android devices or for your Samsung device to get the similar effect of live wallpapers. But now that we're inside the phone, what can we start talking about here? Software. You're running iOS 17, specifically iOS 17.3 at the time of recording of this video. And on Samsung, you're running Samsung's new Samsung One UI 6.1, taking some cues from, again, iOS, but also taking cues from their own software. One of the things that I actually appreciate that Samsung has started to do with their software is use Good Lock to actually inspire their official software. So if we go into settings here real quick, we scroll down and we go into wallpapers and we go and click on change wallpapers. Here's some of the things that would have been found in labs and still is in labs for that matter. But some of the creative aspects of setting your lock screen wallpaper and your regular wallpaper came from the Good Lock app. And it all started here in Good Lock. And if we come down here to clock face, which has now changed, they've taken some things out of here and you can adjust either one of these. So you can adjust lock screen or your standard wallpaper and do further customization. Some of this stuff is now part of the official software. I think some more inspiration from Good Lock has also been in the quick settings. Now I changed mine to be all blacked out. Case in point, I'll talk about it in my week later video if I haven't already dropped that. One of the things I've noticed is this kind of bugs out, so we'll get to that. But the new look of the quick settings, you can argue, is inspired from the ability to tweak your quick settings within Good Lock again. So if I come in here to Quick Start gives you the ability to change some things about your quick panel in terms of the looks, the clock settings, the visibility, being able to access certain things, and how fast you can access it right, change quick setting button grid and all that type of stuff. This has now been this is now a part of the official software. Now swiping straight down, you can get straight to the panel. This came from Good Lock. So I like that Samsung uses their own software to really inspire the official software. The only problem is, I think what happens is they start to deplete Good Lock and actually remove features altogether. But again, like I said, we'll get to that in more coverage of the Galaxy S24 Ultra in particular. Now, what you get with the iPhone is stable software for the most part. Now, I can honestly say it does seem as though Apple has been kind of dropping the ball in terms of providing a stable, super stable updates. Really ever since iOS 14, from what I've heard. Now, running iOS 17.3, it is overall stable. I can recommend it from that perspective. But I'm just saying in terms of just like bugs being a little more frequent than what used to be in Apple software is what you're experiencing with the iPhone 15 Pro. And their software, super solid. It is definitely user friendly, which means there's not going to be as much to be able to do. Now, one thing they did do, if we swipe away notifications, I like that aspect, to be able to just swipe away notifications. I like the fact if you can see, I have a little depth effect going on between my wallpaper and my clock. That's something I can't do on the Samsung device, but I can do here on the iPhone 15 Pro. Something that I very, very much so appreciate. And if I want to customize, I press and hold. I click customize. I click which one I want to. So we just jump over here to the standard wallpaper. I can choose to blur my background if I wanted to. I could choose to pair it with my lock screen, which you can do on Samsungs. But I can also change different options for my main wallpaper, which is nice. Now, if I want to click done because I didn't do anything, I re-click customize and come in here to lock screen. Now I can change this as well. I have up to 50 wallpapers in this photo shuffle album for my wallpapers. That's an advantage that the iPhone has over Android or Samsung's Galaxy S24 Plus, is that I can only set up to 15 if I chose a photo shuffle feature. I have the option to choose 50 different wallpapers on my iPhone. And then if I don't like the one I currently have, I just tap the screen and it changes. I hit done. It saves it. By the way, as we know, as you guys probably noticed, they both have widgets on their lock screens as well. Again, a cue from Apple. Apple started the widgets on lock screen, and now we have the ability here on Samsung's Galaxy S24 Plus. As you guys can see, they have the weather and battery, and here I have weather up at the top instead of below the clock. So again, Apple is slowly bringing customization to the iPhone. It's taken a lot longer than it did for Android. Now, with iOS 18 on the rise, we may see so much more benefit from this as well. We'll see what happens in due time, but from a software perspective, you are getting a stable, familiar software with iOS 18 or iOS 17, especially if you've already been on iPhone for a while. The software largely looks the same still in terms of layout. You do have widgets. You do have widgets. You do have widgets, and now you have some form of an app library. Now, I do like their app library. I prefer Google's app library over even Samsung. Samsung is cool. It's good, right? So if we come back in here and swipe up, we're in the library. And you can change what this looks like by going alphabetical, right? You go alphabetical or just let them fall in place, like most recent or whatever like that. I wish you could scroll up and down. Good Lock gives you that ability, but it's a little janky. It doesn't quite work the same way that Google's or even iPhone's works. So using Good Lock's app drawer, not recommended in my opinion. But between these two softwares, you're not going to go wrong either way because Samsung One UI has come a very long way and Apple's iOS has came a very, very long way. Now, what's the other thing I can compare with these two? Battery life. Battery life is tremendous on both of these. This is the smaller iPhone 15 Pro. That's what makes this even better in my opinion, is because if it sees my face here, I don't know why all right. People underestimate the battery on the iPhone 15 Pro. Now, again, I guess it depends on what you're doing when it comes to the iPhone, but this phone can last me all day. I could even squeeze it into the next day and just put it on the charger briefly in the morning/afternoon if I had to on my iPhone. That's something I can do with no problems, and just briefly just showing you guys here just how, well, because I got them widgets. See how just sharp that is? Super sharp, super fast, super fluid. Again, you just can't go wrong there. But battery life. Now, one of the things that really seeps away battery life is these awesome displays, because you're getting a near 2K display, if not a 2K display on the iPhone, and you're getting a Quad HD display on the S24 Plus, something new this year for the Plus model. These can seep the battery to some degree. Depends on what you're doing. Depends on how often they're on, right? But the displays also allow them to drop to 1 hertz. So that's the other nice thing about these LTPO displays, is that it doesn't always have to refresh at the high 120 hertz. ProMotion and adaptive display. That being said, the battery is still able to last a good while. With the S24 Plus in particular, I charge this every other day. I don't have to charge this device like that, and that's one of the things that I definitely appreciate about this device, is that it does not have to be charged on a regular basis. This one more or less does on a daily basis, but this one on an every other day basis, and that is because of the size. Now, if I compare this against the iPhone 15 Pro Max, then we might be having a different conversation, because maybe now they both last every other day. But in terms of my use, daily, every other day on this behemoth of a Galaxy S24 Plus. Handability wise, they still feel good. This one is a little more softer in the hands. This one has slightly sharper edges, and to me, they're more sharp up top, up here, as opposed to this side. They're a little more sharp on this side. But to me, it does not a problem. I think for me, I'm just getting used to holding a big phone again because I'm so used to rocking the iPhone 15 Pro now. I used to rock the S23 Ultra last year, but now rocking the S24 Plus is kind of getting used to that big phone again. But I haven't had no problems with it. It's been pretty good. I like that Apple Music is over here with the S24 Plus, so that's where I keep my music now, so I don't lose it from this playlist over here. That's something I like. YouTube Music, I haven't refreshed or kept up to date, so I can't just rely and fall back on my YouTube Music playlists. But I'm glad that Apple has allowed at least that app to come on over to Android. They didn't allow Apple TV Plus, which is not cool, but it is what it is. Maybe it will in the future. It is a streaming app, so I'm a little surprised that it actually hasn't crossed over to Google's Play Store. But that is the comparison between the iPhone 15 Pro and the S24 Plus. Do you have either of these devices? Which iPhone or Samsung device do you have? What are some of the differences or similarities that that's caught your eye about these devices? Let me know down in the comment section below. And again, as always, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys ignite the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. It's all free. That way you never miss our videos. So that way you and I can sit back, relax, see what's cracking. It's your man Micah signing out. Until the next video, wait for it.